Uganda as a setting, and also looking at it as an investment module. How best can we take it seriously so that it actually yields as much as it should, and of course with other factors constant. I am not the expert here. That is why I'm joined by Simon Peter Aruho. He's an agribusiness consultant. Good morning.
Good morning, Maru. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
For having me here today.
Absolutely. Please do tell the audience a little bit of yourself and unpack the term agribusiness.
I'm Maru Simon Peter. I'm founder and CEO of Umoja Farm and Umoja Salt. As Umoja Farm and Umoja Salt, we mainly deal with the core of our business is mechanization and improved pasture management.
Okay.
However, we also deal with coffee farming, which is coffee which has been integrated with matoke. We deal with dairy, cattle keeping, which is dairy, and beef fattening, bulls for fattening. We also deal with trainings and consultancy. In case a farmer needs help in setting up what he needs in this farm, we're there for him. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's unpack the big term agribusiness before we get deeper into the nitty-gritties.
Basically, agribusiness in layman's words would be conducting agriculture in line with commercial principles.
Commercialized farming, you mean?
Yes.
All right. So I thought I got them mixed up.
No. It's conducting agriculture with commercial principles in that the various economic activities to do with agriculture are integrated to give a better yield or to boost a product from inception towards the market to the end. And that will entail like the production, from production you go to the processing, then the distribution, then the marketing and sales and all that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at that vis-a-vis the setting, because I understand you're a consultant.
Yeah.
You've had your own experience
Yes.
on how this is setting. In looking at Uganda as a setting, we're going to use Uganda as a case study.
Yeah.
How is that being portrayed in the nature of Ugandans? Well, we also must note that away from the fact that we have held on to farming or agriculture as a backbone to be a magic bullet in our economy, but it also goes back to our culture.
Yeah.
Some of the cultural practices that we practice in the different ethnicity in Uganda, it is perceived as a cultural practice.
Yeah.
So with all those factors constant, and the fact that we as much as possible advocate for agribusiness, whereas it remains a cultural practice, how are all those sitting in the general setting of Uganda?
In the general setting, we are still lagging behind in terms that people are still practicing subsistence farming, which is not really boosting Uganda, the economy of Uganda. Even however, agriculture being the backbone because it's the biggest employer, but people are mainly practicing subsistence farming. They're not yet got to the level of moving to commercialization. Because if you sit down with the farmer, basically, and ask him his input from the beginning of the season to the end, he didn't have any records, didn't have anything. So at the end of the season, when he gets like his output, he thinks he has made a profit, but in actual sense, he has not made a profit. You get that? So if farmers were sensitized and helped into modern farming, agriculture would really take off in this country.
Okay.
Because there will be increased yields. If the other part of agribusiness is marketing, if marketing is done right, farmers will be able to access huge markets in Uganda and out of Uganda for their businesses. So generally, it is still, farming is not really being taken as a business. It's just being picked up now. But it's not really, by most farmers, it's not really being taken up as a business.
Right.
Yeah.
And how much of that has been, well, because I understand even President Museveni has said it time and again, commercialized farming. And we've seen, of course, him working with different organizations or different programs, NADS or Operation Wealth Creation, to at least incentivize this. Now, how much has this yielded? I'm talking government input, incentives and all that to drive farmers to a point of commercialized farming.
Yeah, there's been a lot of government input trying to drive farmers towards commercialization. But sometimes the policies that are set in place don't reflect the farmer. They're not had interaction with farmers on the ground to come up with policies that favor, that are in line with what the farmer needs. You may come up with a policy which is broad to cover everyone, but you're not really getting the nitty-gritty from the farmer himself. So you have to first start with sensitization from the farmer down there to find out exactly what he needs before you can bring it up as a national policy. Okay. But the government has done a lot to push agribusiness, because, for example, there was a study program called the Agriculture Cluster Development Program. It's a program where government helps facilitate farmers with each region. They're based on like 2 crops. So, like particularly in Sinjiro, they do coffee and beans. So the government is a 4 seasons program. Those are 2 years. So like government, in the first season, government helps the farmer by subsidizing for him the cost. Because they give each farmer 1 acre. So, and an acre is valued at 450,000 shillings.
Okay.
So government subsidizes in the first season 63%, and the farmer pays 33%. So out of the 450, a farmer is paying about 45,000 shillings. So in that, government gives you, like if you're doing coffee, government will give you like 100 kilos of NPK fertilizer, will give you like a tarpaulin, will give you a sack, will give you a panga, will give you a sekatua, will give you a saw for pruning the coffee. They'll give you pesticide, about 1 liter or 2. So that takes a farmer in the first season. So in the second season, it's now at 50-50 of the 450,000 shillings.
Yeah.
Then the third, the farmer pays 63%, the government pays for you 33%. Then in the fourth season, they assume you're now okay. You don't need any government help because I've taken you through 1.5 years with help. Yeah. So by then they know a farmer is on ground. He has now gone into something that the help he has received is enough. Yeah. So that's just one program. Then like under OWC, they're now trying to move farmers from handheld hoes to mechanization.
Yeah, using the tractors.
Using the tractors. So they're encouraging farmers to set up farmer groups, or from a farmer group you develop into a cooperative, and then they give you a tractor at a subsidized price. So government will subsidize the tractor for you by 80%, and the farmer group pays 20%. So if your tractor says about 120 million, you as a farmers are only going to pay 24 million. Oh. And after paying that 24 million, the tractor is now in the hands of you farmers. It's yours. Oh. Yeah. Okay. And with that program, you are allowed to pay in installments. Like you can first pay 12 million, then after a period of 2 years. So in the first year you can pay 12 million, next year pay 12 million. Then the tractor is basically for the farmers. So that helps farmers even open up new gardens. Because if you're to use a tractor to dig an acre, it takes about an hour. But if you're to use a handheld hoe to dig an acre, it will take you about 1.5 weeks to 2 weeks. So
that's sweet time we don't have.
Yeah, so practically government is going all aboard, then above, to help farmers move and really push agriculture. Another facility which is through the agriculture credit facility. So government through commercial banks is giving out credit facilities to farmers at a low interest rate. Because I think government is giving it around 2 to 3%. Then to the farmers. But you have to go through commercial banks because the government can't reach everyone on the
Absolutely.
ground. But the commercial banks can do that. So, yeah, and that is cheap capital for someone who is doing agribusiness. For example, if you're going to set up a factory to mill coffee, that is a good credit facility for
Absolutely.
you. Yeah. So government is really trying so hard to push commercialized farming.
And to what extent are the farmers really realizing this and taking advantage of these incentives? Because I have a worry that not every farmer knows about this. So that means only a cross-section will probably get to know this. And to me, I think these are the big ranchers or the big dogs in the game. Well, I have my small garden. I want to begin, planting coffee. I could take advantage of these incentives. But I don't think there is enough sensitization or there is enough knowledge to this.
No, there isn't. The sensitization is a bit low, honestly. Because usually when I go to the network, usually in farmer conferences, and you tell people about like SDP, many people don't know it. Most, they're like, what is that? What is this? And we've not heard about it.
Yeah.
Yet it has been running for some time. So I think they should do more media adverts or sensitizations that farmers can get to know about these programs that are going on.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's still low. It's still low.
And what is your take on Operation Wealth Creation, by the way, before we get
My take?
any further?
Oh.
Do you think this is an initiative that has tried to shake the things a little bit, or what is your general perspective?
Yeah, they're trying. They're trying. They're really trying to reach the ground. They're moving. Yeah, that's my take on it. They're moving.
All right, absolutely. So let's look at agribusiness as a viable investment channel. How possible could that be?
It's very viable. It's very viable, agribusiness, because it's broken up into various components. There could be the agrochemical part, there could be the equipment and mechanization part.
And that's what I want you to
There could be the breeding part, the marketing, and so it's viable because, first of all, agriculture employs about more than half of the population in Uganda. So basically, that's already a market for a person. So if someone is to get into, let's say, the agrochemical part, processing of fertilizers and all that, there's already a huge market for them, because now people are really taking up the use of fertilizers to boost yields. If you're going into the mechanization part, farmers are moving from handheld hoe. They're tired of that, because if we can dig an acre within an hour, I have free time to go and do something else.
Absolutely.
I can go take care of this. If I'm a farmer, I finished digging my acres to plant pastures. I can now go taking care of the animals. I can go to my coffee shamba. I can go to my matoke, work there. So agribusiness is very viable. It's very and it's highly profitable. Because let's say if you're going to consultancy in agribusiness, advising farmers on how to, let's say if you're in the pastures and dairy, farmers come to you, they're paying you money to give them that knowledge, or they're hiring you to go and do their gardens for them and hand it over to them after. So you're earning a lot of money from agribusiness. It's a huge industry that's not yet being tapped into properly.
What are the other underlying opportunities there? For an individual that necessarily does not want to do the actual farming, but can actually benefit or can be of use and can be well enterprised, but within the value chains of agribusiness.
For example, if you don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of that, you can go into the marketing. You can go into there's post-harvest handling. That entails providing storage for farmers. Okay. And that comes at a cost. So if if you have 10 farmers with over, let's say, 1,000 tons of maize, and they need storage, store it for them. That is good money coming to you as an investor who has taken up post-harvest facilities. Yeah.
Right. And do we see this, because, well, I want to involve the role of academia here. Do we see them play their role?
Academia?
In agribusiness and its fundamental existence in Uganda.
Yeah, because academia is mainly going into research and R&D, research and development. So let's if you go into co-production, they research and come up with better hybrid crops like GMOs that can boost a farmer's yield. If they're going into like cattle, let's say, they do research and know how to get a better breed of cattle that is entailed towards what someone wants. For example, if you want to go into milk production, they can help you breed or crossbreed a cow, give you a better yield. If you want to go into beef, they will help you get the right breed for you.
Okay.
Because if you go to Entebbe, they import embryos from all over the world that will help improve the breeds in the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And maybe before we go for the break, I want you to understand basically, because there's been a worry that as far as we mechanize agriculture, or we try to bend so much towards the commercialization, the business bit of it. First of all, there are factors to consider like time, like yield, to satisfy the market and all. So that will bring to a farmer the need to use fertilizers, the need to use certain chemicals to at least take care of the time bit and the amount in terms of harvest. Now, at a certain point, you'll agree with me that it ceases to be organic farming, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But it depends on the farmer. You can use organic pesticides. You can use organic fertilizers. When if you're to go into planting, if you're planting with a tractor, the planter connected, at the front they have buckets where you put the fertilizer. So if in your shambo you have dried manure, the soil is dried, you can place that into those buckets. So when you're planting, it puts the organic manure, then puts the seed too.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just that organic may be if you don't have it, you have to resort to inorganic. But with time, it will be more inorganic. Yeah.
You agree as well?
I agree.
Because, but again, this is going to hurt the intended goal, because you'll agree with me that Uganda is known for its comparative advantage, farming being one of it, and the organic produces that we export out there. So I worry that at the end of the day we're going to lose the market, or we're going to lose the goal, because realistically this is where we're headed. Yeah,
that's where we're headed. And where we're headed now, most things have to do with organic. Organic, and that may become a big problem.
Yeah.
Big problem, especially if you're looking towards the international markets. For example, if you see like the small trade-off war between Uganda and Kenya about
just
the maize.
Here. Even before you cross further.
Yeah. But that's mainly due to poor post-harvest handling. Like a farmer cuts down his maize, instead of placing them on a tarpaulin to dry, they dry on the ground. So
or even kept away when they are
it rains, they don't bother about. So in the long run, it's the farmer to realize that he needs to handle his produce in a much better way. And also there should be sensitization from government, much more teaching farmers how to handle the post-harvest situation.
All right, 30 minutes past 8 a.m. We're going to take a quick break now that we've established the factor that agribusiness can be a viable investment channel. So when we return, Simon and I are going to try and draw some tips. Now that you've established yourself as a commercialized farmer, how can you keep in business, but not only business, in Smart
24. Smart business.
for joining with us. You're still watching Smart Rise, and we're discussing agribusiness and how best that can fit in your priorities as an entrepreneur. Away from the fact that it's been termed as rudimentary, I'm talking about farming. To some, it's just a cultural practice. To others, it's actually leisure. But we have established, Aruho here has helped us establish the fact that it can be your investment channel or your next, deal that will help you, of course, improve your economic status. So now that we've come to that agreement, now let's discuss how best you can remain relevant in business. Agribusiness, you have invested probably in one of the channels. It could be dairy, it could be farming, crop husbandry, and the other channels like you mentioned earlier. Now, let's look at the tips or the pros and cons that will enable someone remain relevant in the business and sustain it.
Well, okay, thank you. One thing I would say to, let's say, a farmer in the business is to always try and network with other farmers. Because when you network with other farmers, you get more knowledge and they help you, they expose you, let's say, to very other markets that you didn't know about, to other new ideas that are coming up within the system. Within the system, networking is one of the key things in farming, because you can't farm alone. You will think you know everything, but once you get exposed to someone else, you'll be in so much shock. Just from having a meeting with someone over 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you get so much knowledge from them about things you didn't know. So networking is one of the key things to do in agribusiness. Because it helps you seek for more knowledge and gain more knowledge when you network with other people.
And how do we go about this? Is it working together? Sharing same pieces of land, sharing same infrastructure. The networking, basically, how does that work?
Basically, that networking, it could be through attending conferences. Attending conferences with other farmers, going for farm visits. Because if under SNV they have like practical dairy farms, training farms. So if you go to attend those trainings at this particular farm setup, you gain knowledge that you didn't have before. If you attend conferences, you'll be exposed to various policies or programs that are coming up from government or from other international organizations that can benefit you as a farmer. Then also I would advise farmers to make sure they treat their farm as a business.
Yeah.
They have to treat it as a business. If you're going to like dairy, you have to treat it as a business. A business, you have to keep records.
Yeah.
That is the number one vital thing in this. You have to keep records.
How much you've invested.
How much you've invested, how much you've got out, to entail if you're actually making a profit or not.
Yeah.
You have to run the business as a going concern. It's a going concern. But the number one thing I would tell most farmers is network.
Okay.
Networking is the biggest element of agribusiness. Yeah.
All right. And how do we bring about cooperatives in this?
Cooperatives. So cooperative societies.
Yeah, working in cooperatives, especially people that are dealing in identical, forms of farming. We have cooperatives on vanilla, cooperatives on coffee, cotton, dairy, and all that. How do they play a role in enabling this networking? Now,
for example, government has really gotten back into telling farmers to form cooperative societies. Because government has moved on from dealing with an individual farmer, they're now dealing with farmer groups and cooperatives, and they have to be registered. Because even organizations are doing that, because it's easier to deal with a cooperative because you're now getting all the farmers at once in an envelope. So they're tailoring a lot of programs towards farmer groups and cooperatives. And government has really pushed for that in the last few years. So once they form cooperatives, farmers can easily, because you have to only form a cooperative almost every month, you have to have meetings.
Yeah.
So when you sit down with the various farmers, you're now networking with them. And once you have those meetings, you can invite, let's say, consultants to come teach you. You can invite government people, government employees to come and sensitize you about the various programs that they have going in the agricultural sector. So the cooperative, first of all, cooperative is just people working together.
Absolutely.
So by the time you're ready a cooperative, that means you're in sync. You all want to do the same thing, and working as one will give you it gives you one voice. So if you go to the market, you can actually agitate for a higher price for your products. And if you have one voice, you can easily go to government and ask for credit facilities, because they will see this is registered, this is the bank accounts, this is chairman, are they viable, how have they been working? So government can easily, not even government alone, even NGOs can actually help you.
To work together. Because I brought this in consideration of a case study that we worked together with them, and we got to know, this was during the lockdown.
Yeah.
Those very first days of the lockdown, where there was no cross-border trade at all, especially the physical crossing of persons. Now, we were in contact with the women cross-border traders, especially those that export vegetables and other crops per se. And they really faced a difficult time because of restrictions, they couldn't ordinarily trade. Cross. Yeah. But what helps them stay in business is working together to feel a particular, they worked together, they brought the produce together and hired containers and filled them together, and of course dealt with the prices, but wholesomely. I feel like that is one thing that helped them stay afloat, but it was all in the manner of collective working. So when you mention cooperatives and networking, I feel like that goes a mile in explaining what should be dealt with in this particular matter. But like any other investment, we expect challenges, we expect opportunity costs and the like. So what should be expected in an investment, in an agribusiness investment?
I think basically before you invest into any business, you have to do research. You have to do research to get to know everything that is involved in that business you want to do. So if, let's say, you're going to go into dairy, I would advise you to go first interact with farmers, go for trainings. After going for trainings and interact with farmers, then you can get a clear view of what you want to go into. So you can know, because if, let's say, I'm just a dairy farmer, I want to go into dairy farming. And the first thing I do, I just go and buy cows. I don't have pastures to feed them.
That would be gambling.
That's gambling. I don't have pastures to feed them. I don't have someone to take care of them. I don't know what to do. You don't know what pastures. So before you go into something, you do like research. Like, I know personally, I'm a dairy farmer. I know before I bring freshened cows, I have to have enough pasture to feed them.
Because you started the business.
I started the business. I had hands-on training, on the job training, you get. So I know that before I did this, I will need 4 things. 1, pastures. I will need structures. Structures mean the cow shed, the irrigation systems for water in the farm. 3, I will need good management. I will train the person or the workers I have, take them for training so they can know what they're going to do properly. 4 will be bringing in the improved breed of cows. Those are just the 4 things to do in dairy. But the first has to be do with pastures. So if you deal with that, then you can go into dairy farming. But the basic thing is to first get the knowledge, do research, meet people, let them talk to you about this and that. Don't just go into any project saying, this one told me, in piggery, there's money. In this, there's money. Then you just go and start. That's why most farmers reach a point and they just give up and they say this business is not worth it. Yet they jumped in without knowing anything about it. So before you join any agribusiness, you should do research, meet people, go for consultations. Yeah.
All right. And let's understand how best Imuka is positioned in this particular venture of agribusiness and doing the sensitization and helping out the farmers actually really take this seriously as a business venture.
Now, Imuka Access is helping farmers by helping, especially young entrepreneurs, by linking them towards, let's say, the consultants, the investors, helping young farmers reach the goal that they want to reach. For example, they help train the young entrepreneurs, train them on how to handle a business, how to take a business, teach you grant proposal writing, let's say farm records and all that, business records. Then also they help do what? They help link the entrepreneurs to investors.
Okay.
Like, for example, there's going to be a pitch fest within the coming few weeks,
okay,
where young entrepreneurs are going to present their business ideas to the various investors around them who will be there. So that already is moving a young farmer or an entrepreneur from this point, from point A to point B.
Okay.
Because if a young entrepreneur or any entrepreneur can be helped, if he has reached stage 1 and he wants to move to stage 2, and there's someone in between to push him to that stage, that is really, as they say, Imuka Access, really helping them access. Yeah. So there's going to be a pitch fest soon. So young entrepreneurs are going to be helped greatly to meet potential investors for their businesses.
All right, let me get your last take in a minute or two as we wind up.
Yeah.
Yeah, your last remarks on the matter.
On agribusiness.
Yeah.
I would advise people, especially young farmers, to, even people who are retiring, to get into farming. It's really highly profitable, and